Thanks for joining me on episode 1153 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
Hey, this is Mike Flynn, and it's been an honor to be here with you all. I challenge you to invest in yourself, to invest in others, to develop your influence and impact the world using your time, your talent, and your treasure to live out your calling. Having the ability to master the key, master who you are created to be, is vital. And one major way to be inspired to do that is to listen to this, the Inspired Stewardship Podcast with my friend, Scott Mader.
And sometimes, again, taking 10, 15 minutes to shut off your brain, to turn off screens, to turn off the phone and notifications, to not have a podcast or a movie or a video playing, to actually just let your mind be present and still allows you to refocus on the energy of the time that you need to spend on the task at hand.
Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world.
In today's episode about impacting the world by stewarding your time, I talk with you about why we need to have guilt-free me time. I talk about 4 benefits of having me time, and I also share what it means to really have some me time.
As we talk about stewarding your time, wouldn't it be great if you could support this podcast and do it without just taking too long? Turns out you can't. All you have to do is use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon when you're ready to make a purchase via Amazon, and a small commission will come back to support the show just that quick. If you enjoy the show when you are ready to buy from Amazon, just use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon.
Guilt-free time for yourself. Think about it. When you take time for yourself, when you take some time off, when you take rest time, when you take a day off of work, or maybe just take a long break, do you feel a little guilty? Do you feel like I should be getting something else done during this? This busy world that we live in is constantly telling you do more, be busy. But in reality, sometimes it's important to take time to reflect, to ground, and to realign yourself to your values so that you can really live an intentional life that's authentic and fulfilling. I think all too often, when we think about serving others, we end up making that about only making other people happy, only taking care of other people's needs first, and not paying attention to yourself or your own needs. And this is one of those times where we set it up as an either or. You can either take care of yourself or you can take care of others. Either you're always serving others or you're selfish and always just paying attention to yourself. But the truth is, it's not an either or. This is another one of those cases where it's a both and. It's about doing something both for yourself and for others. It's about taking some self-care time to let yourself rejuvenate so that you can serve others more authentically, more deeply, and with better energy. Because think about it. If you burn yourself out, then you end up not actually helping others anyway. You end up serving them in a way that actually doesn't bring them help. Sometimes it's as simple as taking some time each and every morning to be grateful, to take time to be present in the moment, whether that's a time of prayer, a time of meditation, a time to write in a gratitude journal. It's about sitting down and recognizing what you already have and then being thankful for those things. This is one way to have some me time. And it really doesn't have to be that long in that case either. It can be as just a 5 or 10 minute a day pause that you do at the beginning of the day or the end of the day,
or I actually recommend you do it at both, to be grateful and to be present and to be plugged in with what you already have. And there's study after study that shows that actually increases health and focus and other things. That's the second benefit of taking some me time. It gives you time to focus. I think a lot of times we think that the only way we can pay attention and be focused is to constantly be on. But it turns out that unplugging, turning things off, is sometimes the best way to bring more focus to your life. You feel like you're wasting time when in reality, doing nothing is sometimes one of the most efficient ways to make the time you do spend doing things much more efficient. Think about it. How often have you ended up procrastinating on a task that was important because you're so exhausted, you just can't bring your brain to focus? And sometimes, again, taking 10, 15 minutes to shut off your brain, to turn off screens, to turn off the phone and notifications, to not have a podcast or a movie or a video playing, to actually just let your mind be present and still, allows you to refocus on the energy of the time that you need to spend on the task at hand. Another benefit is time to reflect and realign. Time to sit down and say, what is important to me? What are my values? What are my goals? What do I really want to get out of life? What do I want to intentionally say yes to? And therefore, what is it that I need to eliminate so I can say yes to those things? Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a long time. It can be 30 minutes, an hour at the end of the week where you reflect each week on what went well, what was challenging, and what would you like to do differently, or what would you like to change in the future. But doing this over and over allows you to plug back in and realign to what is really important to you. And then time for nature is another benefit. Time to go outside and enjoy the sun and the trees and the light, to quiet your mind and allow yourself to plug in to those things that are around you. You know, the truth is you can plug in me time into your daily life. You can look for 5 or 10 minutes to take a walk, to meditate, to exercise, to create or do something creative. Sometimes you can spend longer times by going on a weekend retreat or even longer. You can practice gratitude. You can sometimes just take a hot shower or hot bath. You can enjoy quiet music or a moment to move with the music and dance. Of course, having things like mantras and having a firm time where you switch off and unplug is all ways that you can really focus and have me time that is quality, so that when you spend time doing the things you need to do and serving others, you can do it with energy, with authenticity, and with focus that allows you to do it to the best of your ability. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you like this episode on the stewardship of time, be sure to sign up for our Stewardship of Time Tips series by going to inspiredstewardship.com/time or texting 44222 Time Tips, and that'll get you our best tips on stewarding your time. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.